Okay. Good Shabbos. Here we go. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berito. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam. Ben Yuven b'nei Yisrael oti leolam v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berito. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai es hashamayim ve'et haaretz v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi Shabbat vaynafash Shabbat vaynafash v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Amen. L'chaim. Okay, Torah study blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asot b'divrei Torah. Amen. Okay, good Shabbos, everyone. Mazel tov one more time to Pamela and to Victor, who both made it here after all of the celebration. Right back at it. Mazel tov to both of you on receiving the Talmud Torah Award last night. One of our greatest traditions. So that was very nice. And now we move on. We are up to Mishpatim, one of the most interesting Torah portions where the Jewish people are now free for the first time as a whole nation, and they figure, well, now that we're free and we're Jews and we can do what we want, then you have to figure out how to be Jews. And so to do that, you need laws. Mishpatim means laws. In fact, the Mishpatim is the word in Hebrew for law school. You go to school, you say, what are you studying? Studying Mishpatim. That's what they call law school, because a mishpat is a law, and a beit mishpat in modern Hebrew is a court. Right? So there are other rules. There are other words for laws in the Torah. Most commonly used phrase in halachic literature is din, right? Or dan, to judge. But there's a difference between saying to judge and a law. Those are different words. They're similar. Sometimes they're used interchangeably, but they're different words. Although in Hebrew, mishpat is a law. But listen closely. Mishpat, shofet. Shofet is a judge. It's the same root. Shin, pei, tet. Shapat, shofet, mishpat, it's the same root. That means law and also means judge. Okay. However, today we're not going to really focus on the legal material in Mishpatim, because that's generally in the first two triennial cycle sections of Mishpatim, and we are in the third triennial cycle, so we actually have more of an interesting story. Now, a fun question to ask people is, do you believe in angels? If you do, okay? If you don't, then when you say, oh, say shalom, don't do this. You ever seen that before? Because this is a nod to the angels who surround you. That's why we do that. If you don't believe in angels, don't do this. Kadosh, kadosh, kadosh. That's a nod to the angels. So, and if you don't believe in angels, don't read this section of the Torah that tells you that there are angels. So, okay. Now, we've seen angels. We saw the 3 guys who showed up at Abraham's house. Right? Remember those guys? And he brought them in and he fed them and he bathed their feet and so forth. And we saw the one who healed him from his circumcision. And we saw the 2 who went and destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. So it's not a surprise that there are angels. However, the Reform movement had a problem with angels. And so a lot of the... Way back when. Yeah. I mean, in the original days of Reform, when they removed a lot of what they call angelology from the liturgy. So, you know what liturgy class is in rabbinic school? Liturgy class, if you go to an Orthodox or a conservative rabbinic school, is you read the liturgy and then you learn about the liturgy and you understand the liturgy. In Reform, it's how we changed the liturgy. We don't believe in that, so we don't have that. Also, you could do that whole paragraph, but not if you want to get out by 7:15. Not if, And, how many tables is Captain's Tavern going to hold? For you guys. So, right. Boca have more options, maybe. All right. Okay. So we have now, as the Jewish people are getting the laws, all of a sudden, in chapter 23, verse 20, which is where we want to start, Exodus chapter 3, verse 20, there's a story about an angel. Now, Exodus 23:20, anyone have the page in Plout? 589, okay. 306 if you have the Saperstein, which you don't. Okay, so before we get into this story about the angel, I want to tell you that this angel, we find 2 other places, the same one. One elsewhere in the Torah, and one elsewhere in the Tanakh, meaning once the Torah is over in one of the books of prophets, okay? And so, as seasoned Torah students, what you'd want to say is, okay, well, show me what happens with the angel this time, but then show me what happens with that angel the other 2 times, and then I can compare them, and from that comparison, I'll see what I can learn, right? That was immediately what you were thinking as soon as I said the angel appears in other places, correct? Yeah. Right. In Boca, they're saying, yeah, but we don't believe in angels, so who cares? Right now, all right, done. All right, it doesn't get old for me. All right. All right, so we're up chapter 23 of Exodus, verse 20. Here we go. All right. Judy, today's your birthday. Yes. Happy birthday. Mazel tov. Yom Haledet Sameach. Yom Haledet Sameach. Yom Haledet Sameach. Yom Haledet Sameach. Okay, Mazel tov. Mazel tov. Okay, verse 20.
I am sending an angel before you to guard you on the way and to bring you to the place which I have made ready. Pay heed to him and obey him. Do not defy him, for he will not pardon your offenses, since my name is in him. But if you obey him and do all that I say, I will be an enemy to your enemies and a foe to your foes. When my angel goes before you and brings you to the Amorites, the Hittites, and the Perizzites, and the Canaanites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, and I annihilate them, you shall not bow down to their gods in worship or follow their practices, but shall tear them down and smash their pillars to bits. You shall serve the Lord your God, and he will bless your bread and your water, and I will remove sickness from your midst. No woman in your land shall miscarry or be barren. I will let you enjoy the full count of your days.
Okay, so what do you think about this angel? Good, bad, indifferent? Helpful, right? Right. He only does good things. So, what is the connection? There's one phrase here between God and the angel. I mean, I might say right off the bat, why would I need an angel to God? I have you. I have your cloud that goes out in front of us and leads us in the right direction. Why would I need anything else? But, okay, you know. So I had the cloud. Clouds are a little scary. Now you're going to send me an angel. And then it says in verse 21, Kishmi b'kirbo, for my name is within him. What does that mean? I don't know. Maybe you do. I mean, what is it? For my name is within him, meaning like he's official, he's sanctioned. I'm not sure. But one of the things that is scary, well, I don't want to play all my cards yet, but there are two major sins in the Torah of the Jewish people. The first one is the golden calf, and the second one is the spies. Which one has to do with the land of Israel? The spies. So, but they're connected. Because when the golden calf happens, when Moses is up on Mount Sinai, the Jewish people say, we need to create something to replace him, Moses, not God. God's where he always was. But they say, that guy's not coming back down. We need to create something to replace him. So now there's this angel that could maybe replace Moses. But then there's the next sin is going to Israel. And when they go to Israel, which is called Canaan, with all these nations we just read who live there, they have Moses. So what good's the angel if Moses was good enough to lead them? But now we have a problem because we lost Moses at the golden calf, so we need some sort of God or angel or something with God's name in it to replace him. That won't help us get to Israel anyway, because when we went to go to Israel, we had Moses and we still messed that up. So it's not necessarily going to help us. But this angel, at this point in Jewish history, before the golden calf, we don't know yet what's going to happen with the sin of the spies. And so here God tells Moses, if you look at verse 23, don't worry, my angel's going to go before you, and he'll take out the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Canaanites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. Now, who's the only Israeli prime minister to descend from those other nations? No, from the other nations. Shimon Peres was a Perizzite. No? All right. All right. Shimon. It's the first time I use that one. I'm just trying it out on you guys. You're going to be driving home and think, that was better than I thought. That was actually pretty funny. Who is the only Israeli prime minister to descend from one of these other nations? Shimon Peres. He's a Perizzite. Jay has a good sense of humor. All right. Okay. Now, What does Maimonides think angels are? If you look on the first source of the sheet, the Rambam, this is not from the Mishnah Torah that I usually bring, which was Maimonides' summary of the Talmud. This is from his philosophical treatise known as the More Nevuchim, or in English, the Guide for the Perplexed. And in volume 2, section 34, this is what he says. Ken, would you mind reading the Rambam?
Without doubt, this instruction was to the masses, and angels do not appear to the nation's masses and do not instruct them, such that they would be instructed not to rebel against him. Rather, Hashem informed them that he would establish a prophet among them, and the angel would speak to the prophet and instruct him, and God warned us not to rebel against that angel whose words the prophet would transmit to us.
Yeah, so, there's 1.2 million Jews out there. And later on in history, there's going to be even more. So what happens, like in the days of Isaiah, and God speaks to Isaiah? How does Isaiah tell 1.2 million Jews living all over the land of Israel or scattered around the entire Middle East what God said? It's not so easy. So you have to have judges and rabbis and whoever, well, not rabbis yet, but later on, Pharisees, whatever, to spread the word. Because they didn't have, big gatherings where everyone would get together and, and every time God spoke to Isaiah. So maybe they write it down, send out leaflets, who knows, WhatsApp groups, however they needed to get the stuff out. And that's kind of what this angel is. The angel would deliver a message to the elders and it would be passed on. So just an idea. It wasn't like these angels were these magical figures that could necessarily speak and a million people would hear it. It would be a message that would be passed on to Moses or passed on to Aaron or whoever the leader was, and they would go about it. So just like, that's just nuts and bolts of how it works. It's not so fascinating, but it's interesting. Okay, now, if we go back to verse 20 for a second, the first verse we read, which is, "Behold, I send an angel before you to protect you on the way and to bring you to the place that I have prepared." Now, one thing I just want to point out, if we read through the rest of the chapter here, well, maybe we should do that. We stopped at, where did we stop? 26. Okay. Ed, let's finish the chapter just so we can see. So my question then would be, in the rest of this chapter, what's Moses' feeling about the angel? Is he okay with the angel? Does he not want the angel? Does he say, you take over, I'm sick of these people anyway? What's Moses' feeling about the angel? So let's look at the rest of the chapter and find out.
"I will send forth my terror before you, and I will throw into panic all the people among whom you come, and I will make all your enemies turn tail before you. I will send a plague ahead of you, and it shall drive out before you the Hivites, the Canaanites, and the Hittites. I will not drive them out before you in a single year, lest the land become desolate and the wild beasts multiply to your hurt. I will drive them out before you little by little until you have increased and possessed the land. I will set your borders from the Sea of Reeds to the Sea of Philistia, and from the wilderness to the Euphrates. For I will deliver the inhabitants of the land into your power, and you will drive them out before you. You shall make no covenant with them and their gods. They shall not remain in your land, lest they cause you to sin against me. For you will serve their gods, and it will prove a snare to you."
Okay. Moses is okay with this angel. He doesn't reject the angel. Why does he like the angel? What's the angel going to do? I mean, what's the main thing the angel's going to do? Help him with what? Where are the enemies? In the land of Israel. Who's not going to the land? He's a prophet. Knows a lot of things. Maybe he senses it. Maybe this is proof that he senses it. Because he might have said, look, I'm here, don't worry. But this angel seems to be picking up in what he's going to do where Moses leaves off. I'm going to take them up to the border. But then there's going to be these other people over there, and maybe they're going to get scared and they're not going to want to go fight. Which, by the way, is exactly what happens. But I don't have to worry about them getting scared and going to fight because they're not going to go fight. You're going to show up and just destroy them all like you did with Sodom and Gomorrah. And then they won't have to fight and be scared. So in that sense, this angel is not really a threat to Moses. In fact, he comes to help Moses. He's going to do the stuff to continue on the relationship when Moses is gone. Maybe. That's just a theory. You don't have to buy it. I'm just wondering out loud what's Moses' reaction to this angel coming on the scene. Do we have a microphone? Oh, here.
This is not going to happen. But it doesn't seem that it's going to happen like Sodom and Gomorrah, a sudden thing and so devastating. He says, I'm going to do it little by little. And that would imply that there are going to be you have to meet some kind of criteria over that period of time. Maybe that's going to be a learning period for the Jewish people. He could go in and just eliminate them.
That's true, but verses 27 through 29 are 3 verses of horrible things that I'm going to do to your enemies. So I'm going to give them a pretty good beating. It's different than Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah.
No doubt. But you're right. It's not chick-chock.
What does he expect to happen during that time? In other words, there has to be an expectation
Yeah.
that other criteria will be fulfilled so that they continue. It's not all done at once. You're not going to get it all handed to you.
So I think 100%, and I think what's happening is we're seeing that Moses knows that the people aren't going to have 100% faith that they're going to be able to go in and just destroy them. But the fact that this angel's here to help them is good. It may not be enough. By the way, it turns out to be, doesn't work at all, because the people have the sin of the spies. They don't even get to that point. But the next generation does. But the next generation, so then there's a question, does the next generation have this angel or not? Okay, so, okay, now, so someone said, how does, oh yeah, Jude, can you use the mic, please?
It just seems, somewhere along the line, though, Moses learns from his father-in-law, and probably in this situation, that he has to delegate. He can't control everything.
Nice.
And so here, in part, that he's told, you're not going to do this, we'll send somebody else to do it for you.
And by the way, Moses is not a warrior. Moses doesn't fight. Moses stands on the mountain with his arms up, and Joshua is the leader of the army. Joshua is the warrior. Moses is the prophet. He's not. Now, how do you know that Moses is thinking this way? How do we know that the people are going to sin? How does he know that he's not going to go into the land of Israel? So look at Rashi. Here, so this is Rashi and then Ibn Ezra giving you the Midrash. But here they were told that they were going to sin, and the Shekhinah said, I will not ascend into your midst, meaning there's more sins coming and things are going to go bad, and ultimately something really bad is about to happen. And then, I don't know if I need... Okay, so you can read the Ibn Ezra if you want, but you don't need it. I just wanted to fill up the page. Okay, so, Victor, do you have a microphone? It's coming. And then we're going to go, while Victor is teeing it up, to chapter 33 of Exodus, verse 1. Chapter 33. Yeah, go ahead.
So there might be a clue on the Euphrates River because maybe this projects it all the way to the time of King Solomon or when the kingdom was the largest it was. I believe it was the time of King Solomon.
Yeah.
So it's not like the immediate period, but kind of a long-term projection.
Oh, okay. That it's going to be a significant empire. Yeah. I mean, it was short-lived, but there was 40 years of King David and 40 years of King Solomon. And do you know that one of the laws was you weren't allowed to convert to Judaism in those times? In the days of King Solomon, they didn't accept converts because they figured everyone would want to convert because we're the strongest empire. And in order to be a first-class citizen, you had to be Jewish. So they figured people would be converting not because they loved God, but just because they wanted to be a first-class citizen in Solomon's empire because he was the strongest empire. That was a very short window for the Jewish people. After that, they changed the rule from, you have to say to people, really? You want to join us? Don't you know we're the weakest of the nations? That's actually still halakha. So, okay. Now, chapter 33, if you notice the Torah portion we're in now, Ki Tisa, which is the Torah portion of the golden calf. Now we have the golden calf. We're now after the golden calf, and the angel shows up again, which means that this angel is coming at a different stage of history, a much different stage of history, and a much more of a different relationship between God and the Jewish people. And so now the angel returns, and everything changes. Okay, with me so far? Yeah? Okay. Daniel, would you mind? Chapter 33, verse 1.
Then the Lord said to Moses, "Set out from here, you and the people that you have brought forth from the land of Egypt, to the land for which I swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, saying, to your offspring I will give it. I will send an angel before you. I will drive out the Canaanites, the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, a land flowing with milk and honey. But I will not go in your midst, since you are a stiff-necked people, lest I destroy you on the way."
Okay, so now we just learned two different things. One is, the reason that the angel is coming back is, again, to take you to Israel and to fight your wars for you there. Great. But now God tells Moses something he didn't tell him the first time around in chapter 23, is that the reason that I'm coming with you before was that because my name is in the angel, whatever that means, but now I'm telling you I'm mad at you, and if I show up myself, I'm going to destroy you all. So I'm restraining myself because of what you did with the golden calf. I'll wipe you out. Now Moses made two good arguments when he said, you can't destroy these people after the golden, because God says to Moses, I'm going to destroy them all and start over. Moses, the lawyer, comes and says, one, you promised Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob that you would never destroy their people. And two, you'll look ridiculous because you just brought them out of Egypt. You did all these wonders. You did the 10 plagues. You split the Red Sea. You showed the world what you could do for this people just to destroy them. And God says, I didn't think of that. All right. And what was created in that moment? Litigation. That moment is that you could change an idea. So what he says here, though, is the first time, the angel's this nice guy, you'll enjoy him, whatever. Second time, I'm sending him because if it were me, you'd all be dead. So you see, we're at a different stage in history. You might. Well, no, they won't hear you at home. And then Mark Farber will text me, and it'll be a nightmare. All right, Mark, we're getting the... Go ahead.
He says that he will send the angel beforehand for the first generation. I'm going to call them the first generation from the people who left Egypt. Here he says, for your offspring. So he's really telling them, you are never going to go into the land of Israel.
Good. What verse are you looking at? What do you say?
1.
1.
I shall give it to your offspring. I will send an angel ahead of you.
No. No, so he's talking to the offspring of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Not different generations of the Jews in the wilderness. The offspring there refers to those who descend from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So either way, the generation, that could refer either to the generation of the golden calf or their children. It could be foreshadowing, maybe. Miller? Pass the mic back to Miller.
We'll judge that. Rabbi, I'm used to angels being very shallow and one-dimensional. I mean, it took 3 angels to go to Abraham. Each one had a specific task. This angel seems incredibly interactive, a lot more multi-dimensional. You'll listen to him, you'll obey him, he'll do this, he'll do that. A lot more than we've come to expect from angels. Why is,
Well,
maybe
no,
you put his name in it? I don't know if there's a connection there, but.
I think they, look, no, the angel, there's a debate amongst the rabbis which angel this is. Some say it's Michael, some say it's Gabriel, some say it's a different angel called Metatron, which is the one that's actually closest to God. But the goal of each of these angels is to facilitate the Jewish people inheriting and conquering the land. Now, maybe there's different methods, but that's all they can do. But you're right, they are a little more interactive, but not so much more. Because think about it. You have these angels, they're the one we met in Genesis, well, the 3 we met in Genesis. 2 are there to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, and 1's there to heal Abraham, Raphael, right, which is, Refuah Shlema, right, Raphael, God heals, is there to heal Abraham and Ishmael after the circumcision. But they're there having a meal, and they're getting their feet bathed, and they're having conversation, and they're meeting Sarah, and they're talking to Sarah, and, so they also do a variety of different things. But their only thing they're really allowed to do is destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. So same thing with the angels we meet who later on, when they come to meet with Lot, and they're in the house and they're killing the people and they're holding back the door and they're doing stuff. So they have the whole scene with Lot.
But it did say, and you'll listen to him and obey him.
Of course, right? Yeah. So, I think it's an interesting point. But I think what it means is the angel does in fact represent God, right? Which is a good point. Bill?
I think there's a second priority in addition to leading them into the land, and that's to make sure, or to try to make sure, that they don't bow down to anybody else's gods. Right?
Okay, yeah.
And so there's also, and I think it was talked about little by little. Each place, tear down their gods, go to the next one. Tear down their gods, because I guess if they spread out too much and they get exposed to too many gods, there might be a sector that might go astray.
Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. So let's go on. We have a lot more to get to. These are all really good points. Where do we stop? Verse 4 we're up to? Okay. Annabella, verse 4?
The people heard this bad tidings, and they became grief-stricken, and no one donned his jewelry. Hashem said to Moses, "Say to the children of Israel, you are a stiff-necked people. If I ascend among you, I may annihilate you in an instant. And now, remove your jewelry from yourself, and I shall know what I shall do to you." So the children of Israel were stripped of their jewelry from Mount Horeb. Moses would take the tent and pitch it outside the camp, far from the camp, and call it tent of meeting. So it was that whoever sought Hashem would go out to the tent of meeting, which was outside the camp. Whenever Moses would go out to the tent, the entire people would stand up and remain standing, everyone at the entrance of his tent, and they would gaze after Moses until he arrived at the tent. When Moses would arrive at the tent, a pillar of cloud would descend and stand at the entrance of the tent, and he would speak with Moses. Okay, so I just want to, there's some intersection here, but I want to just get back to the angel. So if we can skip now to verse 15. Annabella, verse 15. He said to him, "If your presence does not go along, do not bring us forward from here." Right, and you see, do not bring us forward. Al ta'aleinu. Aleinu, aliyah, going to Israel.
without you and your presence, we don't want to go. We don't want the angel to take us to Israel. We only want it to be you. And if your presence does not go, Moses says in verse 15, don't bring us forward from here, from right where we are right now. That's verse 15. Okay, 16.
How then will it be known that I have found favor in your eyes, I and your people, unless you accompany us? And I and your people will be made distinct from every people on the face of the earth.
Okay, so the first time, and there's no resolution here. The first time we see the angel, Moses says, okay, no problem. The second time, we're in a different reality because it's post-golden calf. And now Moses has a different fear. And his fear is that if you're not with us, then let's not go. It won't work. That's what we have so far. So the question then is, does the angel go with them to conquer the land or not? And the answer is, we don't find out in Moses' lifetime because Moses doesn't go into the land of Israel with the Jewish people. So we don't know. But before we find out, and if you cheated and looked on the sheet, it's a shanda. No, but before we do that, I have to show you one verse in Genesis. It's Genesis 48:16. So we don't need everyone to look there. We just need one person to look there. But even if one person looked there, you would think that I set them up, and you won't believe it yourself. So if anyone finds it, let me know. And you, Shelley, do you have it? All right, so chapter 48, verse 16. And by the way, I told you there's 3 times we see this angel. There's actually 4 times. Because there's one other time we're going to see it in the Tanakh. But this angel is referred to all the way back here in Genesis by Jacob. So look what happens at 48:16.
The angel who has redeemed me from all harm, bless the lads. In them may my name be recalled. And the name of my fathers, Abraham and Isaac, and may they be teeming multitudes upon the earth.
Okay, so who, you know the end of the, if you ever, I don't know if you do this or not, but with your sons, you're supposed to say, Yisimchem ke Ephraim and Manasseh, may you be blessed like Ephraim and Manasseh. That's the blessing on Shabbat that you're supposed to give to your sons. Comes from this. Who's Ephraim and Manasseh? The 2 sons of Joseph. And at the end of Jacob's life, he's blessing them. You know why these 2 are blessed? They're the sons of Joseph. They're the first 2 Jewish brothers that ever liked each other. So you say, yeah, but what about Isaac and Ishmael? Not so much. Jacob and Esau? You want to make that argument? Oh, well, Joseph got along with his brothers. Yeah, I mean, they sold him into slavery, but other than that, they got along great. Yeah, comes along Ephraim and Manasseh. They haven't tried to kill each other. We have never seen anything like this before. Right? So why be blessed like them? Puts his hands like this. But what does Jacob say? The angel's blessing you. Why is the angel blessing them? So a couple of comments on this. The first one is from the Or HaChaim, one of my favorite rabbis of all time, mid-1700s from Morocco, who made Aliyah in the last year of his life, 1748. And you can go to his shul in the old city of Jerusalem. It's in the Jewish quarter, the shul of the Or HaChaim. And if I ever finish my new book, God willing, there's a scene in that shul from the book. So that should really make you want to pre-order. That should really make it. All right. The last time around, I didn't have any pre-orders, orders, or post-orders. So now I'm trying to push the pre-order. All right. All right. So look what the Or HaChaim says on this verse. Jacob may also. Bill.
Jacob may also have expressed the hope that the reputations of the patriarchs would be enhanced by the conduct of Joseph's son in the future. We find such an idea in Proverbs 23 and 24. The father of the righteous will rejoice greatly. We also have a similar statement in Proverbs 17:6. Grandchildren are the crown of their elders. All of this is predicated on the grandchildren following in the footsteps of their illustrious forebears.
Okay, so what is Jacob really saying here? These kids, when they grow up, I won't be here. I'll be gone. But you know who'll still be around? The angel. And so let the angel watch over them when I'm gone. But now I ask the question, well, what's an angel? Hold that thought. Hold that thought. When I ask a question, what's the angel that watches over you? So one more comment, the Hamek Devar, which is fun to say. Anyone know who wrote the Hamek Devar? The Netziv. The Netziv was one of the great rabbis of the late 1800s. He was one of the rabbis at the most illustrious yeshiva in Europe, which was in Volozhin, Lithuania, where Rabbi Chaim of Volozhin was the main teacher, and then Netziv was the second main teacher, and his most famous student was the Brisker Rav, who you might know as Rabbi Chaim Soloveitchik, who also came out of there, and also Chaim Nachman Bialik studied there, Rav Kook studied there. It was like the Harvard of yeshivas, not as anti-Semitic, but the Harvard of yeshivas. Okay, so the Hamek Devar said the following, and this is a really interesting point. Steve, would you mind reading that, where it says, after all?
After all, even the angel does not bless except by the knowledge of his Creator, but rather it is in a lower regard than the act that comes from the Almighty God in his glory.
Right, so the main two words there are lower regard, which he says in Hebrew, bechina nemucha, if you read the actual writing of the Hamek Devar. And what it says there is, a blessing from an angel is not as good. And Moses says, and so you could take that understanding and bring it over to Moses, and when Moses says to God, your blessing is not, your angel's not as good as you. Your angel's good. And there was a time where I might have accepted it. But now that I know these people a little bit better, I can tell you that angel is not as good. It's probably not going to work. So I need you. That's the Hamek Devar. You can take it or leave it, but that's what he says. And by the way, if you ever go to the Warsaw Ghetto, and you go to the Warsaw Cemetery, where a lot of the Holocaust victims are buried, there are also some famous rabbis there, and there's one little building that is Rabbi Soloveitchik and the Netziv are buried together. It's called an Ohel. It's like a little building. And we were there, and I was with Rabbi Harlig, and they were showing us all the personalities of the Holocaust who died there and where they were buried. And Rabbi Harlig said to me, listen, how often are you here? I said, every April. But no, well, not that often. He said, listen, this is like the Cooperstown. We've got to go see some of the great rabbis. So we went off on our own, and we found the graves of the Netziv and Soloveitchik, which was pretty cool. I have a picture of it. All right, anyway. Now, I promised you we'd find this angel one more time. So, it's in the Tanakh. If Moses dies before the Jewish people go into the land of Israel, who takes over for Moses and leads them into the land of Israel? Unbelievable. Someday people are going to walk around and say, this Torah study class is like the yeshiva in Volozhin of Reform synagogues, Okay, so, all right. When Joshua conquers the land of Israel, at least in the beginning. He doesn't do anything. He just shows up and conquers the land. They blow a shofar, and what happens in Jericho? Well, who made the walls come tumbling down? So let's look. You see where it says here, Joshua chapter 5, verse 13. Sherry, would you mind reading there? So we have 3 verses here. Joshua chapter 5, 13 to 15.
Once when Joshua was near Jericho, he looked up and saw...
Okay, so let me just point. This is before the war starts, before the wall comes down. But what do you think Joshua's doing near Jericho? He's not looking for falafel. You know, the best falafel. He's not looking for the casino. Palestinians used to have a casino there. Before the Intifada. He's scouting it out. We're about to go to war with these people. And while he's standing there, this unbelievable 3 verses pops up. Okay.
Once when Joshua was near Jericho, he looked up and saw a figure standing before him, drawn sword in hand. Joshua went up to him and asked him, "Are you one of us or of our enemies?" He replied, "No, I am captain of God's host. Now I have come." Joshua threw himself face down to the ground and prostrating himself, said to him, "What does my Lord command his servant?" The captain of God's host answered Joshua, "Remove your sandals from your feet, for the place where you stand is holy." And Joshua did so.
Okay. So now... Okay, so if you skip to the back page, we're going to come back to Joshua in a moment. So, what we need to do is compare Moses' reaction to the angel the second time. Because from the point of the golden calf and onward, we live in a different period. So, Moses' reaction the second time to the angel is, forget it. We're not moving. What does he mean by that? So if you look on the back page, this Forno, 16th century Italy. You see how the now is not capitalized? It's supposed to be. Don't get caught up on that. I just missed it. All right, don't let that throw. Okay. Scott, would you mind reading? Now already.
Capital N now
Right.
already.
Because I know someone's going to say, well, the now's not capital, so that must mean the Sforno was saying, We don't need that comment. I suppose it's just a typo.
When we are still in camp, seeing that you have withdrawn your presence, then you better do not bring us any further from here, for it would be preferable for us to remain here in the desert than to enter the Holy Land without your presence among us. By staying right here, we would at least be exposed to the manifestation of your continued presence.
So a couple things Moses knows. If you're going to withdraw your presence and we're going to go into the land, I'm not going to be there also. And if you're just relying on this angel, that's nothing. That won't work. If they're not even obeying you, and they don't obey me, why would they obey the angel? It's not going to work. Okay, you could take it or leave it, but that's what Moses says. That's how he feels. You don't have to agree with him. That's just what Moses says. Okay, now one last Rashi, and then we need to go back to Joshua. So he says this. Before the golden calf is built, a lot of people sort of think that the golden calf was meant to replace God. But I don't think any serious Torah students really think that. Because what they say is, not that God isn't here, that Moses went up there and didn't come back down, he's dead. The golden calf, or whatever it is that we create, is not meant to replace God up there, it's meant to replace Moses down here. If Moses came back down, there never would have been a golden calf. You wouldn't have that problem. So what Moses gleans from that episode is, What matters for leadership of the Jewish people isn't so much what happens up there, it's what happens down here. Because you're up there regardless. And if I'm down here, they're fine. But now I see that if I'm not down here, even if you're up there, it's not going to work. So they needed, look what Rashi says here on Exodus 32:1. That man, meaning Moses, that brought us up out of the land of Egypt and who used to show us the way we had to go, now that he's dead, we need gods which shall go before us. Now they say gods. That's a problem. It shows they're slipping back into Egyptian way of thinking, which, by the way, they never disconnected from all the way to the end. But the idea is that it's a replacement for Moses and for what's happening down here. Moses now realizes if that's how they think, and I'm down here, and you're not going to come down here, and we get to Israel, fine, I can take them till there, but then I'm going to die. And you're just going to send an angel in with them? It will never work. However, Moses is exactly wrong. Maybe. He's exactly wrong if you look at Joshua and say, the Jewish people got to Israel, Joshua was in charge, so Joshua was the replacement for Moses. Who replaces the angel? That same angel. He comes back right before the war. And what does Joshua do? He doesn't say what Moses says that it'll never work. He says, oh, thank God you're here. I got this big wall. I got a shofar. I need someone to get this wall down. Starts bowing down to the guy. Now, what's the difference between Moses' reaction and Joshua's reaction? You're right. So for the mic at home, Stuart said, Moses defying God, Joshua obeyed God. There's one other major difference. What's the other major difference?
Moses thinks angels are insufficient, and Joshua thinks they're okay.
Okay. Moses thinks angels are insufficient. Joshua thinks they're okay. Okay.
Joshua never had conversations with God either. He never had conversations with God. Moses.
No, Joshua did. He was a prophet. He spoke to him. You can't have a book in the Bible with your name on it if you're not a prophet. Right? So that's how the Bible ended, because Malachi was the last prophet. God said, you're the last prophet. They said, okay, close up the Bible. And then we went to the Talmud. But
Moses had the experience being disappointed when he came down.
okay, but why? Why was Moses disappointed in the people and Joshua wasn't? We missed the main point. Joshua was talking to a whole different generation of Jews. Moses' generation was the one who said, we're afraid to go in and fight. His generation was the sin of the spies. Joshua's generation was the ones from the very moment that they were born, they were taught to not make the same mistake as their ancestors with the sin of the spies. And when it was time to go into the land of Israel, they said, let's go. So Joshua was dealing with an entirely different generation of Jews who had never been slaves before and who grew up learning about God's power in the wilderness and being taught, don't ever make the same mistake that your parents made. You see the difference? So now God comes and the angel comes and Joshua says, we're ready for your help. We're ready to accept your help. Clear so far? You sure? Okay, now here's the main difference. Moses, at his stage, is building a relationship between God and the Jewish people. Joshua, at his stage, they're already married. There's no more courtship. It's over. They're married. They get it. They trust each other. And so Joshua has the ability to be able to say things that Moses couldn't. Moses was forming relationships. Joshua was going to war. There's a big difference. So it's kind of like when someone decides they want to convert to be Jewish. So someone comes in and says, I want to convert. Fine. You haven't converted yet. It takes a little while, but if I catch you mixing meat and milk one time, you're out. You don't say that to a convert. You ease into it. And after a while, they learn about the mitzvot. There's a famous story that my wife and I tell. She couldn't make it this morning, but it's a famous, we've told it before. It's okay if I tell you. So when we first started dating, we lived in the same townhouse apartment complex. And one of the things that she did was she volunteered at Ronald McDonald House. And she had this boy who was very sick, little kid. And she would, once a month or so, she would take him out and whatever. So for whatever reason, she had roommates, and I had no roommate. So she brought him over one day to my house and got him a meal. And she was just learning about conversion. And she was meeting with my professors. They kick you out of school. Well, now they don't. But it used to be a good school, and you had to, if you were dating someone who's not Jewish, you would get thrown out of school in rabbinic school. So, but they met Jody. They said, she's great. And she was already in the conversion process with some of my professors. So she's in my apartment, and I come home from school, and I see her with this boy, and they're eating Chinese food on my plates. And it's foods I've never even heard of. There's shrimp, there's pork, there's mixing shrimp and pork. And I walk in, with my Talmud and, all my books. And I'm just like, I don't even know how to, I can't believe it. Now, at that point, I could have said, this is not going to work out. But then we'd have no admissions director here, and the school would be falling apart. So, but you ease into it. You ease into it. And that's what Judaism is. It takes a while to figure it out. It's the same thing with this class. You come once, and you walk out and say, I don't understand a thing he said. But you come 6, 7 times, and you start to say, wow, there's nothing better than Torah. And Moses was at the part with this relationship where the angel wouldn't work. But by the time it got to a new generation of people learning from the mistakes of the past, the Jewish people were ready to accept Torah. So where's our angel today? Where's our angel today? What did Jacob say? Always go back. Maaseh Avot Siman Labanim. What happens to the forefathers and foremothers is a sign for us in the future. Why did Jacob say, I'm going to bless these grandchildren the angel's going to do it? By the way, there's a famous song about that verse, Hamalach HaGoeloti, the angel who redeems me. But why does Jacob say that? He says, because I'm going to be gone. But there will be something. If I raise them right, there will be something that will be an angel for them that will be with them forever. And what's that angel if I raise them right? Torah. Don't have to worry about them ever because they'll be living a life of Torah. And so long as they live a life of Torah, the angel's with them. But I don't think there's such thing as an angel. I think there's, when you could go back now to all of these places and erase the word angel and simply put in relationship to Torah. And what Moses said is, they don't have the relationship to Torah enough yet to understand what they need to do. But by the time they got to Joshua, the Jewish people had accepted the Torah. They passed the sins of the spies and the golden calf. There's a new generation who understood Torah, and they don't need God with them all the time because they have God with them all the time. in the form of the Torah. And that's what the angels are in our lives. The angels in our lives are, if you need to know where to look on what to do and how to behave, you don't have to look up to the heavens. It's all right here. That's what the angel is. That's why Jacob said, I raised them the right way. They understand Torah. I don't have to worry about anybody watching over them. Okay. Shabbat Shalom.
Check, 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 check. check, check, check. Check, check, check.
Well, send them out.